Okay, so coming back to some of this stuff, the main thing to remember is when we're going ahead and when we're in translation, we are going ahead and we're using those charts to go ahead and to code 3 letters at a time to determine which amino acids are going ahead and building that protein. And the thing to remember is that these proteins are what expresses genes. They're also what makes each cell unique, right? So different cells are going to have express different proteins, even though all the cells have the same DNA. What you express really depends on which genes are turned on and which genes are turned off. And then these things will also go ahead and they express the different traits that we have. Okay, so levels of organization. Things that you guys have to know. You guys have to know cells, right? So cells is the lowest. Cells is the smallest unit of life, right? Many cells together go ahead and they make a tissue, right? And that a tissue is a group of cells. Tissues that work similar functions go ahead and they create an organ, right? An organ is then going to go ahead and to work with a group of organs to go ahead and to perform a function. So then you get this organ system that happens, right? And then many organ systems together go ahead and they produce an organism, right? So those are the things that you guys need to know is cell, tissue, organ system, organism, right? And it's kind of like going ahead and moving up a ladder. Okay, so homeostasis and body systems. So homeostasis is going ahead and trying to maintain a stable internal environment because you want to be as stable as possible because remember, if anything is off, right, the possibility of death also goes up. So there's a couple ways that your body goes ahead and wants to do. It wants to go ahead and wants to keep energy the same. It wants to keep oxygen the same. It wants to go ahead and to limit the waste that is in your system. And you want to also stay at a stable temperature. So if you are looking at this example, right, if it is cold outside, what your muscles are going to do is that they're going to go ahead and they're going to shake. They're going to shiver, right, in order to go ahead and to create warmth for you, right? Versus if it's too hot, right, what's going to happen is that you're going to sweat to go ahead and to cool down the body, right? Because you want the sweat to evaporate and then cool you. Body systems. The main ones that you guys have to know, respiratory goes ahead and it creates gas exchange. The digestive system goes ahead and breaks down chemicals in food to go ahead and to make nutrients. And the goal is to go ahead and to absorb those nutrients so that you guys have glucose and stuff in your system and other minerals that you need. Integumentary is your skin. So that goes ahead and it protects you from the outside environment. Again, your skin is like your biggest protector from the outside. Then we have our muscular system that goes ahead and helps us move. There are some things that are voluntary, which means that some things that we control with our head. And then there's some things that are involuntary, which are the things that we do not control. And there's a couple of things in our body that we don't think about but still happen. Such as like the muscles in our guts, like they have to move and they move down the food and all of that. Okay. The nervous system goes ahead and it processes stuff that we feel from the outside. So anything that touches us or anything like that, anything that we feel on our skin or anything like that, pain, anything like that is going ahead and it's processed through the nervous system. The main thing in there is like your brain and your nerves, right? Cardiovascular system, we're talking about the circulatory system in this case. We're talking about the heart, the veins, the capillaries, and the arteries. So anything that transports blood is part of the circulatory system. There's a urinary or renal system that goes ahead and it filters the blood and it goes ahead and takes out waste from the body. And then there's a skeletal system that goes ahead and holds everything up and it protects our major organs. Okay. Cancer cells versus normal cells. Okay. So what happens is that in cancer, well, let's go ahead and let's start with the cell cycle. So in the cell cycle, there are a couple things that go ahead and that happen. We have our G1 phase, in which our cells are going ahead and our cells are growing, right? So our cells go ahead and they grow and they grow and they grow and they grow, right? And then after they grow, they're like, okay, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to stop and we're going to check if we have enough nutrients. We're going to check if I'm big enough, right? And we're going to check if the DNA is complete, okay? And then after that, it is going to go ahead and it's like, okay, like I have all of these things. I'm going to keep on moving forward. And after I move forward, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replicate my DNA. So then the cell goes ahead and it goes there. It finished replicating DNA. It goes ahead and checks if everything is all good to go. If the DNA is replicated well, it corrects any mistakes if necessary, right? And then it goes ahead and it will go ahead and go through a next phase of growth. After it goes through the next phase of growth, the cell grows and grows and grows again, and then it will go ahead and will start beginning to split into two, right? Once it's going ahead and it's lining up all the chromosomes down the middle, that's when it stops. It double checks if everything is all lined up, right? And if everything's attached before it goes ahead and before the cell splits into two, right? So those are our things on there. And then the next thing that you will see is that the cell will actually split. And then that is the main thing that we are kind of looking towards as we are starting to go ahead and we're going through the cell cycle, is that all of this growing and DNA duplicating goes ahead and leads to mitosis. If this thing does not work, if you are skipping these stoplights that represent checkpoints, then you will have a cancerous cell, right? So cancer cells don't care about these stoplights. They just power through, right? And since they're powering through, you'll see that they go through cell division way quicker than they're supposed to. If you guys are looking at these two times, you guys will see that they're going through these things way quicker than they're supposed to. Some cells are not in this phase, right? There's the G0 phase in which the cells are going ahead and they're not replicating, and that's also possible to see on there. Okay, sources of cancer, again, pretty similar to anything that changes your DNA is pretty much a source of cancer. So chemicals, radiation, and certain infections, all of those things can go ahead and those things can be a source of cancer. Also, if you happen to have mutations in which you go ahead and you switch up letters for some reason, like if there's a mistake and you switch up letters and those letters end up switching what amino acid it is, right? Those things can also lead to cancer. Okay, next thing is your graphing rules. So some of the questions on there, we'll double check if you guys understand what TOX means, which TOX is title, axis, labels, keys, and scale, right? So every graph needs to have a title. I cannot say this enough, but everybody forgets the title. It's like the first thing, but you guys need to remember to go ahead and to have your title. Next thing is your axes. So your axes, you need to have your X and your Y axis. Make sure that you guys go ahead and you actually write Y, you actually write X, that sort of deal. Labels, right? Labels. You guys need to tell me what the X is and what the Y is, right? So you guys have to tell me what each of those things represent, and you guys kind of have to be a little bit descriptive on that. A key. Not all graphs will absolutely need a key, but if we're talking about a line graph and we're seeing like two different lines and one is red and one is blue, you better be able to tell me what the red line is and what the blue line is, sort of deal. There's also the scale. Scale, super duper important. You guys have to pick a number to count by, right? If you're going to count by fives, count by fives. If you're going to count by tens, count by tens. If you're going to count by threes, count by threes, right? But you guys have to commit to a number to go ahead and to count by. Don't use the data to go ahead and to number those things up the scale, right? So if the data says 7 and then it says 10, like I don't know what you're counting by, right? You got to pick a consistent number to go ahead and to count by in order to go ahead and to kind of put that stuff together. Okay, so I think that is it. So, thank you guys, and we are going to be going ahead and I'll post this, and good luck on finals.